Namor then invited Shuri to tour his underwater city. She was wearing a special survival suit because otherwise the water pressure would have crushed Shuri in an instant. Namor then activates a current that takes them to a very beautiful underwater city. This amazing city is known as Talokan. Welcome to the Entertainment Storyline channel. And here is a complete storyline of the latest Marvel movie Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which tells how hard the struggle of the Wakandan people is, who had to get a lot of blows after losing their leader. Please watch it until it's finished because maybe there are a number of things that you missed when you watched it in the cinema. Prepare lots of tissues because you can be sure that this video is quite long and sorrowful. But we think it will be in accordance with the explanation that we have specially prepared for you. Please click the subscribe button as a form of your support for us, and don't forget to also turn on the notification bell so that you will be the first to know every time we post the latest video. Here is the full story. In 2024, T'Challa is told to suffer from a mysterious disease that cannot be cured. Shuri looks very worried and shows that the only cure is a heart-shaped plant. But unfortunately, Killmonger has burned down all the plants with nothing left. Shuri tries with all her might to recreate the plant to save T'Challa's life, assisted by Griot, her artificial intelligence assistant. Shuri tries to control the plant's DNA, but the success rate is only 25%. Even so, Shuri, who was desperate, continued to make synthetic plants with the hope that her brother could be saved. Unfortunately, before the research was successfully carried out, her mother suddenly came in and announced that T'Challa was gone. Shuri looks very sad because she was not able to save her brother's life. Not long after, the funeral process was carried out and the traditional leader read the introductory prayer for T'Challa, who is now with his ancestors. Wearing all white traditional clothes, the Dora Milaje lifted the casket from T'Challa to undergo the next procession. You can see the people of Wakanda dancing to musical accompaniment to welcome the body of T'Challa. This is part of the culture and customs of behavior with the aim of accompanying the deceased to the next life. It can be seen that the atmosphere was indeed very lively with accompaniment music that sounded like playing, but still this was unable to change the feelings of Shuri and Queen Ramonda, who were stricken with sadness. When the plane carrying the coffin was ready, Shuri was seen expressing her sorrow over her brother's death. She knelt, and from her crying, we know Shuri felt very guilty. He failed to create a cure, and as a result, death approached T'Challa. Queen Ramonda then asked Shuri to give up her sister, and the crate flew into the plane to take T'Challa to his final resting place. All the residents paid their last respects, followed by the Marvel Studios intro, which was very silent because indeed the audience was asked to take a moment of silence to pray for Chadwick Boseman as cast of T'Challa, who has left us all for good. One year later, Queen Ramonda attended a United Nations meeting held in Geneva, the second most populous city located in Switzerland. Queen Ramonda was presented because Wakanda was deemed to have failed in fulfilling their promise to be involved in global issues. This includes sharing the resource in the form of Vibranium as a form of cooperation. This was expressed directly from the American representative. The female representative from France then added that Vibranium is a substance that cannot be detected with metal detectors and can be used in mass weapons. Of course, such resources can be dangerous and threaten the stability of the world. When asked to speak, Queen Ramonda then explained that the people of Wakanda had committed never to come into contact with Vibranium under any circumstances, not because of the dangerous potential it could produce, but because of the dangerous potential from strangers like high-ranking officials attending this meeting, and Ramonda's words are not empty words. The night before this meeting was held, there was a special forces team trying to get into the Wakanda Relations Center located in Angsongo, Mali. The troops were after the Vibranium, but Aneka and the Dora Milaje were so well prepared that the infiltration plan was thwarted. Queen Ramonda already realized what her allies wanted. They seemed to pretend to be polite, but behind their back they have bad intentions. The death of Black Panther, the leader of Wakanda, made Western countries think that Wakanda has lost their protector, and this is the time to attack. The goal is none other than to get Vibranium, which can be used for military purposes. Okoye and his troops then entered the meeting room. They herded the suspects, and evidence of uninvolvement was being uploaded on the devices of each attendee who came there. This was used as a hint that the United Nations was involved in this attack. Luckily, Queen Ramonda still forgives this act, but if it happens again, Wakanda will not hesitate to fight against anyone who tries to disturb the peace of her country. Western countries look very evil. They attacked while they were mourning the death of their leader. But still, Wakanda doesn't let anyone do as they please and take their resources. Uniquely, Queen Ramonda can know that currently her evil ally is making efforts to find Vibranium outside of Wakanda. However, because it was not directly related to her country, Ramonda only congratulated Western countries on finding what they were looking for. Meanwhile, the scene then moves to show facilities being built in the Atlantic Ocean. A woman named Dr. Graham then arrives and begins her duties there. Scene 2: divers dropped into the sea. As soon as they reached a depth of 240 meters, they reached a seabed and started checking. They're surprised that they find a giant drilling machine that crashes into a mysterious object. The object was very strong because only this time it could damage the drill bit to that extent. In the observation room, Dr. Graham looks pleased to have found Vibranium on the ocean floor. This discovery is like 1 in 1 billion, but thanks to the Vibranium detector, they were able to find this special metal. However, the machine suddenly shuts down, followed by 2 divers who are attacked by a mysterious figure. While outside, the officers witness apparitions of heads emerging from the sea. The creatures let out a chant that sounded quite scary. This sound turns out to affect the brain of anyone who hears it, making them hypnotized and jumping into the ocean one by one. The guards threw themselves in, forcing Dr. Graham to plug her ears and call for reinforcements. When they succeeded in resuscitating a hypnotized troop, a scary blue figure emerged from the sea. They chased Dr. Graham, who was trying to save herself. As soon as he managed to fly, he saw a blue-skinned woman who calmly watched the departure of Dr. Graham. Suddenly, the helicopter they were riding in was damaged, and a mysterious figure threw the helicopter to pieces and sank. The figure is seen flying and hovering with a black silhouette behind the darkness of the night. Then dawn came along with the return of Queen Ramonda, who had arrived in Wakanda. He then meets Shuri, who is engrossed in her research. Shuri is seen busy preparing a special combat costume in preparation if one day Wakanda gets an unexpected threat. When her mother asked about the synthetic plants Shuri was growing, the girl was a little angry and felt that Wakanda didn't need them anymore. All they need is new technology, and a heart-shaped plant only reminds Shuri more of her failure to save T'Challa. Even though these plants mean a lot to Wakanda because they are directly related to the status of the Black Panther, the protector of this country, Shuri is still not interested in this title and chooses to make new discoveries to strengthen their defense system. Not wanting to discuss this further, Ramonda reminded Shuri that it was exactly 1 year since T'Challa's death today. For this reason, Ramonda asked Shuri to stop all her work and hand over the Kimoyo beads she was wearing, and the two then headed somewhere. In the evening, they arrive at the beach. Ramonda teaches Shuri how to let T'Challa go. He burned the white clothes previously worn during the funeral pyre. This has the meaning where the feeling of mourning must end and start a new relationship with those who have died and be in a quiet place. However, unlike her mother, Shuri did not want to burn the clothes. She admits that when she remembers her brother, it is not the clothes she will burn, but the whole world and everyone who is held responsible for her brother's death. Suddenly there was a sound of screaming from an elephant which indicated that something was coming. You could see that from the water a man appeared who could float. He flapped the wings at his ankles. This arrival came as a surprise to Ramonda because it was unexpected that an outsider would be able to enter Wakanda undetected. The man started to introduce himself. He is usually called Kukulkan by the people, but he was called Namor by his enemies. Impressed with Wakanda, he said this place was very beautiful. The air was very clean, and according to the story his mother told him, this location is inhabited by people who strictly adhere to the rule of not getting involved with the outside world. But why are they now giving the information to the outside world? The despicable decision to share information about Vibranium with the outside world puts Namor and Wakanda in a dangerous situation. Moments ago, Namor succeeded in defeating the elite American troops who were trying to find Vibranium until they dared to disturb his kingdom's territory. Feeling that they have something in common, namely protecting their country's resources, Namor enlists the help of Ramonda to track down a researcher who managed to create a machine to detect Vibranium. Even though Ramonda refused, Namor, who didn't want the outside world to know, kept pushing him. He even had as many troops as grasses, and they were very strong. Namor then hands over the magic shell, and if Ramonda has found the researcher, she can blow the shell and put it in the ocean. And then Namor will come to pick up the prey. Once again, Namor asks Wakanda to keep everything a secret about him, and then he goes and dives into the ocean. Surprisingly, Namor also presented a vibranium detector to facilitate the search for a genius scientist capable of creating the tool. The following day, representatives of each Wakanda tribe were then gathered to discuss Kukulkan and his requests. M'Baku then came and confidently said if he was there that night, then M'Baku and his troops could easily catch him. The meeting then started, and everyone was surprised by Namor's arrival, which could not be detected at all. When Ramonda was discussing Namor's wishes, the representative of the mining tribe asked Wakanda to agree to his request because Namor had many troops and used vibranium as a weapon. Meanwhile, Wakanda doesn't have Black Panther as a protector if Namor attacks. M'Baku actually disagreed and chose to fight Namor. The reason being because if you comply with his request, it is feared that Namor will continue to ask for more and take advantage of Wakanda's kindness. The meeting then ends with no clear results. Ramonda, accompanied by Okoye, is seen coming towards Shuri. In the research lab, Shuri found a unique fact where most of the vibranium detectors were made using used materials. At this moment, Okoye then conveyed his idea where he would go directly into the field and look for the scientist Namor wanted. Okoye also asked Ramonda to allow Shuri to be involved in the mission this time because Shuri needed fresh air after the sad incident that happened to her brother. Ramonda certainly wouldn't allow it because it wasn't the American troops she was afraid of but Namor. That man could appear anywhere and anytime, and Ramonda didn't want anything bad to happen to her only child. But Okoye persists while Shuri looks interested in joining the mission this time. The scene then moves to the city of Alexandria in the Virginia area. Agent Everett Ross is seen jogging but is distracted by an insect flying in front of his face. The bug begs him to pull over, and it turns out that Okoye and Shuri have arrived in America to talk to him. Without further ado, Okoye asked about the genius scientist who succeeded in creating a vibranium detection device. Here, Everett Ross, who is part of the CIA, then told a story that there was a researcher with the US Navy Special Forces who had managed to find vibranium in the ocean. Surprisingly, they were all slaughtered by unknown troops, even though the 30 naval troops were chosen people and were very professional in their fields. Seeing the connection between vibranium and the attack, Everett Ross thinks Wakanda is the mastermind behind the attack, but Okoye immediately denies it and doesn't even know what happened. When Ross asked who the culprit was, both Okoye and Shuri were both forced to keep their mouths shut because they weren't allowed to say it. Even though Shuri and Okoye withheld important information, remembering Wakanda and T'Challa who had saved him, Everett Ross then revealed all the information he knew. He quickly explained that after the attack occurred, America needed a new detection device. The only one who can make it is a teenage girl who is still in school. This information is actually very secret because Ross's new boss is very annoying and he monitors all his subordinates wherever they are. The scene then moves to take us to Cambridge in Massachusetts. You can see a teenage girl studying at MIT, one of the best universities of technology in the world. From a distance, Okoye and Shuri monitor the teenager where he is collecting FEs from her classmates after being helped with his robotic tasks. As soon as the money was transferred, the girl then left while Okoye chattered using her iPhone as a means of communication, which was very primitive. They then report their find to Queen Ramonda, but after learning the target is a student, Shuri refuses to hand it over to Namor. Here, Shuri then insists on approaching the teenage girl and talking to her. Shuri then meets the girl known as Riri Williams, and she accidentally recognizes her. Shuri immediately discussed the reason why Riri made a vibranium detector for the CIA, but she denied it because she thought it was a practical assignment from her lecturer. Riri's actions unknowingly threaten his life because there is a fishman figure who is targeting him. At first, Riri refused to be arrested, but after talking with Okoye, the girl agreed and wanted to work together. Before heading to Wakanda, they first returned to Riri's workshop. Important data is in her laptop, including the design of the vibranium detector, and of course Riri must secure it before leaving. In this place, Riri did all her research, including designing high-tech costumes similar to Iron Man's. Griot then reported that the police had approached their location. The three then prepared to escape and boarded the available vehicles while Riri wore the iron costume she had just completed. They then get separated and struggle to get to the bridge that is used as a gathering place. Here, Riri destroys the satellite drone that functions to track and record the escape of the three of them. Riri bravely climbed up even though she knew her oxygen level was very low. As soon as she managed to damage the drone, she fell due to exceeding the altitude limit, but luckily she was still alive. The three of them then drove together, showing a very riveting scene, but Riri had to fall after getting stuck in an electric cable. Meanwhile, there is a water bomb that explodes in the middle of Shuri and Okoye. Both of them fell, but luckily Shuri was still alive. Then a number of blue-skinned humans appeared who were behind the attack. They wanted Riri Williams, who Namor was after. The fight is inevitable. Okoye fights all of these creatures, but they are able to recover instantly from injuries that are quite fatal. Interestingly, one of the blue creatures named Atuma is interested in the fight against Okoye. He was impressed by Dora Milaje's skills and really enjoyed this fight. In the end, Okoye was blown into the sea while Shuri continued to wake up from her faint. Shuri then deliberated. He asked the two creatures to take him to Namor. They agreed, and after wearing special masks, the two of them were taken into the sea, leaving Okoye. The following day, Everett Ross was seen visiting the scene of last night's fight. He was not alone because there was a female figure named Valentina who was also coming here. Valentina, as a high-ranking CIA officer, asked what had happened. Everyone thought that this was the work of Wakandan residents because the blue-skinned woman known as Namora had killed all the police who witnessed the fight last night. When Valentina was combing the location, Ross found Kimoyo beads, the super sophisticated bracelet that Shuri usually uses. He discreetly took it, and Valentina asked to be escorted to Langley to discuss the incident. Then we head back to Wakanda. Okoye, who has returned to be seen, reports the incident last night. She fights against a blue creature that appears from the sea aboard a giant whale. She had already killed several of them, but they were able to revive and come back to life. This event is truly shocking, and Okoye promises to look for Shuri wherever she is. However, Queen Ramonda decided to dismiss Okoye as leader and member of the Dora Milaje. This is because she is disappointed that Okoye failed to protect the only child she has. The woman also returned to satirize the events when Killmonger seized the throne. Ramonda, Shuri and Nakia turn to Jabari for help while Okoye submits to the ruthless Killmonger. Previously, Ramonda had also refused when Shuri was invited to the mission, and now that refusal has been proven true. Her daughter was lost, kidnapped by the enemy, and her condition is unknown. Now Okoye herself is in the wrong position. She defended Killmonger, of course, because of a necessity where Dora Milaje must submit and be loyal to whoever is the leader of Wakanda. Finally, it has been decided that starting today Okoye will be dismissed. She then left her spear behind and left the palace. Ramonda then heads inside Shuri's lab. This is her daughter's favorite place where she often spends time creating new inventions. Ramonda then asks Griot to check the Kimoyo beads he was wearing last night. Who would have thought that the bracelet rang when Everett Ross was sitting in the same car with Valentina, who at that time was confused about who dared to provide confidential information about the person behind the creator of the Vibranium detector. Ross cleverly pretended that he was being called by his son. Listening to other people's conversations was considered impolite, so Valentina chose to get out of the car while Ross continued his conversation. Ramonda then asked how Shuri's bracelet could be brought by Ross. Meanwhile, Ross replies he found it at the scene. From the conversation between the two, Ramonda later learned that Wakanda was accused of being the main perpetrator of the attack. But still, the woman did not divulge who the enemy who carried out the attack was. Their conversation then ended with Ramonda tracking the Kimoyo earrings with a signal that disappeared in the Atlantic Ocean area. Then we move on to Haiti. Queen Ramonda visits Nakia, who decides to settle down and become the principal here. So at first, Nakia started to explain about the place where she taught, but Ramonda then asked about her absence at T'Challa's funeral, her own lover. Nakia then fell silent. She had indeed been gone for 6 years and could not come to the funeral because she felt that she wasn't strong enough to see the person she loved the most gone. The conversation between the two continued with Ramonda, who told that Shuri had been kidnapped. Nakia herself is a member of the War Dogs, an intelligence team from Wakanda who are known to be experts in infiltrating various parts of the world without being noticed. For that, he was asked to go save her sister-in-law. Meanwhile, Shuri and Riri are seen secured in a cave with lots of glowworms, a kind of larvae that glow beautifully, decorating the interior. A frightened Riri asks Shuri to summon the Black Panther, who is famous for protecting his people from anyone. But Shuri replies that Black Panther is gone and now his condition is not what it used to be. Elsewhere, Nakia is seen arriving at the Yucatan, an area located on the Mexican peninsula. She started looking for information under the guise of an American student doing research. Nakia was then invited into the house of one of the residents, and the old woman told her experience where she had seen a man with wings on his ankles. He flew and got into the water. Everyone thought he was a spirit figure from Kukulkan, the feathered snake god who ruled the upper world and the underworld that the people there believed in. Nakia then asked where the sighting was located, but the woman warned that there were already many people who were missing because they had bad intentions for the spirit that was told to have a very long life. Then back to Shuri, he was asked to face Namor. Unexpectedly, the man was quite friendly and the two started talking. Shuri admires the traditional bracelet, which turns out to be Namor's mother, and from here the man starts to tell her about his origins. It all started in the 1500s when the Spanish colonizers expelled Namor's mother and everyone she knew. They feel afraid, angry, hungry, and also hold grudges but can't do anything about it. This was further exacerbated by the malignant disease that attacked the refugees. The Mayans are known to have a strong belief in the gods they worship, so everyone can only surrender and pray to Chak, the god of rain from Mayan beliefs. The prayer was finally answered. Local customary officials found a unique plant that grows in the water and sticks to a flaming blue stone. Quickly, the plant is processed into medicine to cure malignant diseases that attack the population. Everyone is ready to drink, but not Neymar's mother. She was pregnant and feared the plant might have an adverse effect on the unborn child. The traditional leader persists and say that this plant is help from the gods so that they can survive. As a promise to convince her, she made a bracelet from this plant, and with this the child in the woman's womb will be declared king when he is born. Neymar's mother finally agreed, but after drinking the plant she felt sick and fell and died. The same thing was experienced by all the residents who had drunk the plant, miraculously. Not long after that they came back to life but lost their ability to breathe on land. Their bodies turned blue because they needed oxygen. They were indeed cured of a malignant disease, but instead they could only take oxygen in the sea or else they would die. Long story short, little Neymar was born with a physique that looked different from most residents. A pair of wings grew from each ankle, had pointed earlobes that pointed towards the sky, and had an extremely long life. Neymar is also not blue but like an ordinary human. Another plus is that he can move very fast in the sea and can fly freely in the sky. This is a side effect of the Vibranium-containing plant making his DNA mutate, and Number himself calls himself a mutant. Time goes on until Neymar's mother grows old and dies. As per his last request, Neymar, accompanied by his relatives, then buried his mother's body in the land where he was born. As soon as they arrived at the location, they saw the Spanish conquistadors who ruled the slaves very badly. Neymar's arrival surprises them all and a showdown ensues. After burying his mother's body, Neymar witnessed a priest who cursed him as El Niño Sin Amor, which means a child without love. And because Neymar does not have a sense of love for the earth, he uses this name to this day. Through this story, Neymar tells Shuri that the scientist he is after must be destroyed, even though Shuri refuses and will protect her by staying in Wakanda. The decision was considered too risky because it was feared that America would find him and then ask him to create a detector once again, and it was clear that this would be dangerous for the citizens of the Neymar kingdom which he loved so much. Not long after, Neymar then invited Shuri to go around to his underwater city. She's wearing a special diver costume because if not, the water pressure there will kill Shuri instantly. Neymar then activates a current that takes them to a very beautiful underwater city. This amazing city is known as Talocan. The audience was presented with stunning visuals plus the music accompaniment of Con La Brisa, which was very epic. This country looks very peaceful, and Neymar creates an artificial sun from Vibranium because he realizes the sun is very beautiful, while in the sea it is very dark without any light. It's no wonder why Neymar is angry when someone disturbs the peace of his country. Finished going around, Neymar then presented her mother's bracelet as a memento. This bracelet is made of a special plant that saved the people of Talocan in the past. Here, Shuri sympathizes with Neymar's choice to protect its citizens, but still she is not willing. If Riri is killed, they must find a middle way without resorting to violence. Here, Neymar then reveals his main goal. He wanted to attack all surface residents because of the bad experiences his ancestors had after the colonization, which was carried out because they fought over the resources of his country. Neymar felt that now was the right time to beat the drums of war before the surface residents attacked first. He invites Wakanda as an ally in exchange for Riri being pardoned, and if Wakanda refuses, Riri will still be executed, while Wakanda will be the first nation Neymar must destroy. The conversation then ended after Neymar had to leave to take care of something elsewhere. Nadia manages to find the location where Shuri is. He contacted Ramonda and the woman will lure out Neymar while Nakia performs the rescue. Using a special vehicle, he dives following the direction of Shuri's signal that takes him to an underwater cave. Elsewhere, Agent Ross is seen meeting with high-ranking American officials at CIA headquarters. He forbids attacking Wakanda because there are other parties involved in this case. Namor then meets with Ramonda, who contacts him. The Queen of Wakanda requests that her daughter and the teenage scientist be released, or else the world will know where Namor and Talokan are. Namor firmly then replied that if that happened, he would not hesitate to kill Shuri as well as Ramonda and attack all the people of Wakanda. This moment is used by Nakia to save Shuri and Riri. He shot the Talokan residents who were there, and the three of them ran away. They were picked up by Ramonda's plane and then headed back to Wakanda. The death of one of its citizens made Namor furious. He felt he failed to protect his people, and from there Namor then announced to go to war against Wakanda. Moments later, at the border area, water suddenly flowed out, followed by an explosion. Namor floods this location and his army begins to invade Wakanda. Shuri did not remain silent. He chose to board a fighter plane to help fight the attack. The situation was very chaotic. Many innocent citizens were swept away by the waves. Ramonda even sent several rescue units to evacuate victims. M'Baku was even thrown when he tried to fight Namor, who turned out to be quite strong. Both in air and in water combat, Namor is very fast and also agile. This makes him hard to beat. After sinking Shuri's plane, Namor then approached Ramonda, who was in the palace. He looks really angry, then grabs a lot of bombs at once to throw at her. This attack produces a large amount of water that drowns Ramonda and Riri. Ramonda, who woke up, then pulled Riri to the surface. Shuri, who was saved by Okoye, then headed straight to the palace. Okoye and Nakia tried to save Ramonda and Riri, who are drowning. It was sad when Shuri got there. Her mother had died from exhaustion while saving Riri, while Riri could still be saved. At the same time, Namor announced that in a week he would come with more troops to invite Wakanda to help him in the war against many countries. If he didn't comply, Wakanda would be destroyed forever. While Shuri looked very sad, she became alone after losing the woman she loved so much. This is the second time Shuri has attended the funeral after a year ago. The same ceremony was held for T'Challa. Elsewhere, Valentina is seen coming to Ross. Turns out he was tracking the men's conversation with the Queen of Wakanda. Knowing that Ross is in league with Wakanda, Valentina then decides to imprison him. Back at Shuri, she decides to do something about it. After realizing that her country is becoming vulnerable to attack, she went back to working on her synthetic heart-shaped plant, the research he'd forgotten about. He devises a plan with Riri in an attempt to weaken the very strong and agile Namor. Once they find a solution, they unite to defeat him. Here, Riri creates a special costume that she can wear to battle, while Shuri manages to imitate the DNA of a heart-shaped plant using the DNA from the bracelet that Namor gave her as well as the DNA from T'Challa. The flower is then printed and the result perfectly resembles the original flower. Like the previous ritual, Shuri drank the potion from the plant to meet her ancestors in the afterlife. As soon as Shuri got there, who would have thought that she would meet her mother or T'Challa instead of Killmonger? This encounter certainly comes as a surprise to Shuri because Killmonger is not the person she expected to see. They then argue with Killmonger, who thinks Shuri has revenge goals behind her reason for creating a heart-shaped plant clone. Shuri herself was evasive because she only wanted to be strong. Killmonger also criticized the kings before him, who were considered too weak in governing. T'Chaka was even called a hypocrite because he killed his own brother on the basis of protecting Wakanda, while T'Challa chose to protect the killer from his father, things that made him too noble. In the end, Killmonger offers Shuri two choices between being very noble like T'Challa or solving all the problems faced like Eric Killmonger himself. Shuri then awakens, but she refuses to say who the figure she met is. At first, she was disappointed because she did not meet the family she expected. She considers her plant a failure, but after gaining superpowers, Shuri becomes even more determined to become the Black Panther. She then goes to the Jabari tribal headquarters and shocks everyone. Shuri clashes with M'Baku a bit to show her worthiness. Now Wakanda has Black Panther again, a figure who has been the protector of this vibranium-producing country for generations. Shuri then spoke to M'Baku. Here M'Baku forbade him to fight against Namor. However, Shuri, who is controlled by anger and wants to avenge her mother's death, clearly demands Namor's death no matter what. Seeing Shuri's fiery spirit, M'Baku agreed and joined her. The next day, all prepared to fight against Namor. The plan is simple. Considering that Namor is very strong near water, the solution is to move him to land so he can be easily defeated. Before leaving, Nakia promises to take Shuri on vacation in Haiti when all this is over. Nakia is also still questioning who Shuri met in the afterlife, but she still refuses to say it. Nakia then gives advice where if you go to war with the aim of revenge, it will not correct the mistakes that have been made, but the feeling of revenge will grow and dominate our souls. The war finally begins with Shuri baiting Namor using the Vibranium detector she has researched. As Namor approached her, certain sound waves then flash make him have to move away from the water. Once on the surface, Shuri and her troops were ready for battle. The Talokan troops board the Wakanda warship, but Dora Milaje, assisted by the Jabari, tries to fight them off. Meanwhile, Namor attacks the flying planes and Riri with her Iron Heart costume also joins. Shuri also showed off her skills. With agility, he attacked the arriving Talokan troops. Shuri's mission was a great success because with Riri's help, she was able to kidnap Namor, take him to the plane to be brought to the land. On the plane, even a special dryer has been prepared with the aim of minimizing humidity to make conditions as dry as possible, and this has proven to be effective in weakening Namor. All troops are ordered to return to Wakanda because their main goal has been successfully carried out. But Namora manages to damage the sound cannon from Wakanda's warship. Now it's Talokan's turn to attack. They carried thousands of water bombs and detonated them to overturn the Wakanda ship. At this moment, Okoye and Aneka were brought to the location. They slide and help the Wakandan troops who are in a cornered condition. It can be seen that more and more Talokan troops are coming, but Wakanda doesn't just give up. Everyone fights to protect what they think is worth protecting. Riri Williams fought Namora while Okoye had a rematch against Atuma. The two of them succeeded in defeating the Talokan troops who were quite strong, but because Wakanda's outnumbered troops are cornered, they are surrounded by Talokan troops who are preparing to execute them all. Back to Shuri. Namor doesn't stay still. He damages the plane's engine until it explodes and crashes in the desert. The fight continues with Namor flying Shuri and then knocking him out. Shuri herself manages to damage Namor's wings, causing him pain and losing his ability to fly. The two continued to fight until Namor managed to stab Shuri with a vibranium spear. This fight ends with Shuri getting injured while Namor runs out of energy and needs water. Here Shuri remembers her last words when she met Killmonger. She differs from her older brother by swearing to kill Namor to avenge her mother's death. Shuri then removed the spear that stabbed her. He approached Namor and then lit the booster rocket on her plane. Getting badly burned, Namor is getting weaker and Shuri has the chance to kill him. A touching moment then happened. Both Shuri and Namor both have fond memories of the past before it was all taken from them. Two people who are blinded by revenge and also emotions are seen to determine each other's destiny. The atmosphere was even sadder when Queen Ramonda, who was already in the afterlife, delivered her last message to Shuri. He asked Shuri to show him who he really is, a killer or a noble-hearted Black Panther. Shuri then asks Namor to surrender, and in return Wakanda will protect their sea and keep Talokan's whereabouts a secret. Namor finally agreed to give up after seeing the image of his mother when Shuri spoke. When the Wakandan forces are cornered, Namor arrives with Shuri and ends the war between the two great nations. The citizens of Wakanda return to living their peaceful lives, with Shuri being seen replanting a heart-shaped potion flower. Shuri then parted ways with Riri, who had to return to her original place. Shuri has cleared Riri's name, so she's safe from the police. Not long after that, the tradition of the king's coronation was carried out, with Shuri being presented as the new Black Panther. However, it was not Shuri who attended but M'Baku. He then challenged whoever was there to fight for the throne. Meanwhile, in the Talakan region, Namora looks disappointed with Namir's choice to ally with Wakanda, but this is the right choice because with the two strongest countries on Earth deciding to work together, they will become stronger and able to fight whatever attacks are prepared for them. The arrested Everett Ross is seen being rescued by Okoye in her new costume. Then where is Shuri? Is there anything more important than a coronation ceremony? Shuri was seen visiting Nakia's residence in Haiti. After arriving, Shuri decided to burn the funeral clothes as a means of letting go of those who were gone. This moment is even more emotional, with memories with T'Challa that are still imprinted in her memory. Shuri invites the audience to remember and pay their last respects to the legendary actor, Chadwick Boseman. Nakia came to Shuri with a child. This little boy was named Tasan. He was the one who accompanied Ramonda when she visited Nakia. It turns out that this child is the child of Nakia and T'Challa, who was raised with his mother. Nakia admits that she is not ready for Wakanda to find out, and that hiding her here is a request from T'Challa. Tasan is his Haitian name, while his Wakandan name is T'Challa, same name as his father. Nakia paid tribute to her lover by giving the same name to their child. The movie then finishes and closes beautifully, with Black Panther confirmed to return someday. In your opinion, which scene is the most emotional from this film? Please write in the comments below. See you in another video.